Hello, everyone, and welcome back to TowerGate. Oh man, it is day 115, Monday, June the 27th, 2017. Oh my. Now we're back to some current news. It took me 3 days to get caught up on what happened Thursday and Friday of last week. Took the whole weekend to do that. But now we're back on schedule, back on track, and back to current events. So let's get started with the number one event of the day. The Supreme Court has reinstated President Trump's travel ban. That's right. Donald Trump has been vindicated, and the Ninth Circuit Court has been proven once again to be a freak show and a circus and should probably be abolished. There is no worse court in the land than the Ninth Circuit Court. All they do, they're stacked with libs, and every time that they come up with a ruling, it gets shot down and overturned by the Supreme Court. And what's amazing about this vote today is that it was 9-0. 9-0. Even the most far left-leaning liberals, Ginsburg, Sonia Sotomayor, whatever her name is, even they had to look at the law and say, yep, the president has the right to issue the travel ban. Now, there's about 90% of it which is totally good to go, and there's about 10% which they're going to revisit back in the fall. But the actual travel ban and its latest form that was put forward by President Trump has now been reinstated, and that's good news for all of us. Now, the 10% that they're talking about has to do with some of the grandfathering that's in the language, such as, for example, let's just say that you are a student, a foreign student, you've been accepted into a university into the United States, and that's already been approved. You are kind of grandfathered in. You will be allowed to come to the United States and go to school here, or if you've been offered a job and you've done all the necessary jump through all the hoops, you will be able to come here. So there needed to be some language tightened up or cleaned up, which allows for these people who previously, before the law, who were accepted into a college or a job or something like that, will be able to come and do whatever it was that they were going to do when they were coming here, whether it was a job or college or whatever. So there's a little bit of that kind of thing that needs to be cleaned up in the language. But the travel ban itself has now been reinstated. 9-0 vote in the Supreme Court. Wow, that is amazing. I can't believe that Ginsburg changed her position, because she was the one who came out so strongly against the travel ban. But I think when it came down to reading the law, which she was obligated to do, she was forced by the law, chained down by the Constitution, and forced to vote to uphold and reinstate the travel ban, because it's totally constitutional. The president can bar anyone he wants from coming into the country for any damn reason. Period. So, that's huge news, very huge news, and it's another setback, another defeat for the liberals. For the liberals in the media and in the Congress and on the courts. And it's another rebuke of the Ninth Circuit Court. How many times? I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. I honestly believe, and I know there was some people talking about it in kind of almost a joking fashion, but I really do believe that the Ninth Circuit Court just needs to be abolished. It serves no purpose whatsoever other than to clog up the pipes, and it's so politicized. It really does. It serves no good interest anymore. The Ninth Circuit Court needs to be abolished. But the good news is Trump's travel ban has been reinstated. Another win for the president, another loss for the libs. And the libs, of course, continue cutting each other to ribbons. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And what makes it even worse, on the heels of yesterday, coming off of Sunday, the morning talk shows and the columns in the New York Times and the Washington Post specifically, They're now even taking it to a higher level. They're now going after Obama. What was the main narrative today all over the liberal media and even in the conservative media? Well, it's that, and it was all kicked off by this Washington Post article, a very lengthy article written by the Washington Post, where they basically made the argument that, well, the whole Russia thing is kind of Obama's fault because he knew that the Russians were involved in trying to hack the election or being involved in gerrymandering or rigging or whatever they do. The Russians were involved, and Obama let him off the hook. He was too easy on him. He should have given him more hell. And of course, then they expand on that and start talking about how he was weak on the Russians against the Russians in Crimea and Ukraine, and it just became a real hate fest against Obama in the Washington Post. And many other reporters and left-wing pundits picked up on that, and now it's almost like they're trying to use Obama as a scapegoat for themselves. They want their viewers now to think, oh, well, yeah, CNN and MSNBC and the Daily Beast and the New York Times and all the rest, yeah, they all were on this Russia story, but I guess they got it a little wrong because they forgot to include the Obama factor. But now that they've brought the Obama factor into play, I guess that means that they're really good after all, or something. I have no idea what their strategy is. Eating yourself is not a good strategy, and throwing Obama under the bus, he certainly can't be happy about that. I'm sure he gets a copy of the New York Times, the Washington Post, delivered to his mansion every Sunday morning, and I'm sure he was awfully perplexed when he saw that article. Now, there is a point toward the end of that story where they actually do try to shift some of the blame to McConnell and say, well, Mitch McConnell, of course, wasn't supporting Obama being tougher on Russia. And this is a joke, of course. Obama didn't give a damn what Mitch McConnell said or thought about Russia, and he had nothing to say about it, really. The president conducts foreign policy. It was Obama who, if he was going to get tough with the Russians, would have done it. But the reason he really didn't get tough with Putin and the Russians is because they have no respect for him. Putin really doesn't care what Obama had to say. He didn't even take his phone calls in the last year of Obama's administration. Putin wouldn't even take his calls. He had no interest in talking to the man whatsoever. And the last time they met in Davos, I'm sure you all remember that photograph of Putin with that cold, dead stare directly into Obama's face. And Obama could not even look at Putin. He had to look down and left and right and away and up and down. He couldn't even look in Putin's eyes. Couldn't even look the man in the eyes. So anyway, it's not just Watson and Schultz or even Hillary Clinton. Now they're actually going and targeting Obama. So this is a classic case of everyone throwing everyone under the bus, doing anything they can to save what shred of credibility they think they have left. They have no credibility with me, and they never did, and probably not with any of you. But they are at this point grasping at anything they possibly can to keep themselves from sinking down into the swamp and probably suffocating or submerging or something. God only knows what's going on. But certainly, I've never seen it this bad. And if they're going after Obama, turning the guns on him now, that tells you things are really, really bad. Especially the Washington Post. That was quite shocking. But that's what's going on, my friends. Okay, I'm sure some of you have heard about this too. Sunday morning, Bernie Sanders. Yep, that's right. The lovable old socialist Bernie Sanders appeared on two of the highest rated Sunday morning network news propaganda programs. And believe it or not, through both of those interviews, both of them approximately 15 minutes long, not a single question to Bernie about the FBI investigation for fraud that he and his wife are under. Not a single question about that. Not a one on either of the two Sunday morning shows that he appeared on. Not only that, not a single word about the fact that it was a Bernie bro who decided to go shoot up those Republicans at the softball game and called for the killing of all those Republicans. That was a Bernie bro. Did they say a single word to Bernie about that? Not a word. Not a word on either of those things. Can you imagine if a Donald Trump supporter had gone to a Democrat softball game and started shooting at Democrats and they had Donald Trump on Sunday morning? Do you think that they would have asked him about that? I'm pretty sure they would have. Do you think that they would have mentioned something to Trump if he were under FBI investigation for fraud, he and his wife? Oh, I'm pretty sure they would have spent quite a bit of time on that. In fact, that's all they would have talked about was these two things. They wouldn't have talked about anything else. But despite that, Bernie Sanders has two 15-minute segments on two of the most major network Sunday morning news propaganda programs, and he gets not a single question from either of them about either of those two events, which are fairly major events for good old Bernie. And primarily why they had Bernie on there was to try to rip to shreds the health care bill, which is still in committee. It's still in the Senate. Hasn't even made it out of the Senate. Hasn't gone to the House. I haven't talked much about the health care bill, but I will get to it. I just haven't because at this point it's still being written. We don't even know what's really there yet. We hear rumors and things like that, and I have some other ideas on the health care issue, and I will get to that in a video. But you know, right now we don't know what the Senate bill looks like. We're hearing things about it. It has to go, once it comes out of the Senate, then it has to go back to the House. And then a group of House members and Senate members will get together and try to find something that they can get through both houses. And then they got to be able to feel like the president will sign it. So we still have a ways to go, and it doesn't look like to me that they're going to have the votes maybe even to get it out of the Senate. So it's a little premature to be commenting, but that didn't stop Bernie from claiming that thousands of people will die. Thousands of people will die from Trump care. Thousands of people will die from Trump care. You know, it's funny. You know, good old Bernie out there preaching we need free education in this country. We need free health care. We need a $15 an hour minimum wage. This is what Bernie says. So it's kind of funny that Bernie wants free education, yet his wife, as president of that college that they ran into bankruptcy, when they got into financial trouble and couldn't meet their payments, what did she do? She quadrupled the admission at that college from $6,000 to $22,000. Bernie wants free education for everybody, while his wife is jacking up your tuition by 400%. Typical socialist. $15 an hour. $15 an hour. You know, Bernie, I have a question for you. Why $15 an hour? Why not $25 an hour, Bernie? In fact, Bernie, why not $35 an hour? Why not $35 an hour? Minimum wage for everyone. Why not $35 an hour? How about this, Bernie? How about $50 an hour? Bernie, how about a $50 an hour minimum wage? You say it should be 15. Why 15? Why not 30? Why not 50? Why not $300 an hour? Because the answer to that question, Bernie, will tell you why $15 an hour minimum wage is a stupid idea. Not that I don't support higher wages, because that's a whole other topic. It goes into a lot of other things, which I will at some point do a video on that as well. I'm not suggesting that we're overpaid. I'm not suggesting that wages don't need to rise. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that imposing a minimum wage of anything like $15 an hour or anything else in a free market system is not going to work. It will result in a lot of unemployment. That will certainly happen. And you can't say $15 an hour. I mean, $15 an hour in California, it would be a lot different than $15 an hour in Georgia. You know, I mean, all the states have different minimum wages for a reason. But there's many other things that it's the answer is not. I mean, I kind of get where he's coming from, but the solution is not to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. That's not the. First of all, it's not addressing the problem. There is a problem, but that doesn't address the problem. That just adds another government regulation that will only result in massive unemployment and simply will not work. But the fact of the matter is, maybe, Bernie, we should all make $3,000 an hour, like you, as a Vermont senator. Maybe we should all make the kind of money you make, Bernie. That's right, Bernie Sanders, who pays 13% tax. He's a millionaire and he pays 13% tax, yet he complains that millionaires don't pay enough, despite the fact that Bernie must be taking an awful lot of deductions to get his tax rate down to 13%. That means that I actually pay about 3 times what Bernie pays. How's that possible, Bernie? But anyway, it was just sad to sit there and watch that whole interview. I thought for sure at some point someone would say, you know, Bernie, before we get off the air here, you know, you want to tell us a little something about what's going on with that FBI investigation? Or you might have thought they might say, you know, Bernie, you know, I know you don't endorse murder or anything like that, but did it bother you that it was a Bernie bro who went to that softball game and talked about or engaged in trying to kill Republicans during the softball game? I mean, he was a Bernie bro. Do you have anything to say to your supporters out there that maybe calm them down a little bit? No. Question did not even come up. Neither question came up on neither of these 2 interviews. And it's just extraordinary that they would even bring Bernie Sanders on. The man who lost to the loser. A man who everyone that Bernie Sanders has endorsed in the last 3 or 4 presidential election cycles, in the last congressional races, has lost. Bernie lost. Everyone he endorses loses. He's a nut. He's a nut. And I have quite a few friends who are Bernie bros, Bernie Sanders supporters. You know, their heart's in the right place, but quite honestly, you know, liberalism fails every time it's tried, and socialism fails because eventually you do run out of other people's money. Plain and simple. CNN. Well. CNN's starting to get the message. They had 3 reporters, or 2 reporters and an editor who put out a story, again, pushing the Russia-Trump collusion, and they started citing some sources and wrote quite the fantasy story, which they tried to pass off as news on CNN. It was on their website. But once some people had a look at that, including CNN's people had a look at that, including their lawyers, and realized that they might be setting themselves up for a libel suit, they pulled the story, and then they asked for the resignation of that editor and those 2 reporters, those 2 so-called journalists, and they have now imposed a new rule at CNN. No more Trump-Russia collusion stories without approval from the, I imagine, Zucker himself, from Jeff Zucker. Because he doesn't want to be sued for libel, and he knows that Trump's attorneys are probably watching very carefully, and they're starting to get the message. That the Trump-Russia collusion story is dead. It did not work. It never has worked. It's costing them now. The ratings are starting to slip after they had several really good months. Rachel Maddow was doing very well. Now they've started to slip again because they had what they had was they had all their viewers tuning in every night because they had their hopes up, believing that these hearings were going to result in Trump being impeached. And when it all turned into nothing but a puff of smoke, many of their viewers finally went, ah. And they just simply have turned off. They've had it. They just can't take it anymore. They've been through enough. And now the ratings are falling at CNN. They're firing people. No more Trump-Russia collusion stories without Jeff Zucker approving it himself. He must be feeling the pain, the strain, the pressure, and the heat. He does have a board of directors he answers to. And it looks like things are going in the right direction. The Democrats are eating themselves, slashing themselves to ribbons. This is exactly what happens New Gallup poll out today. My. Hillary Rodham Clinton, more unpopular than ever. Today's Gallup poll shows that 57% of Americans now view Hillary Rodham Clinton as unfavorable. 57%. Still not as good as her all-time low. Believe it or not, Hillary Clinton's all-time low of 63% unfavorable ratings came back when she was First Lady, after she tried to jam that secret Hillary Rodham Clinton health care bill down our throat with the death panels. That's right, the death panels. And that's when Hillary actually hit a 63% unlikable rating. And that's when Dick Morris told good old Slick Willie to put his wife back in the closet, to keep her in the kitchen making cookies and to get her the hell out of politics and out of his administration and out of the business of the country. And it worked. The less you see of Hillary Clinton, the easier it is to forget about her. The more you see Hillary Clinton, the more you hear Hillary Clinton, the more you hear about Hillary Clinton, the less you like her. The numbers don't lie. Gallup poll, 57% of Americans view Hillary Rodham Clinton as unfavorable. But she's not alone. Oh, she's got a bosom buddy named Megyn Kelly, who suckered NBC into paying her a boatload of money, thinking she was going to bring viewers to their channel and that their ratings would somehow go up. Unfortunately for Megyn Kelly, her ratings are tanking. Nobody likes Megyn Kelly. That's why she had to get out of Fox News. No one there at work at Fox News could stand to be around her. She was also part of the meddling behind the back of Roger Ailes to try to get him fired. She's also been meddling to try to get Bill O'Reilly fired. She's also meddling to try to get Sean Hannity fired. Megyn Kelly is a backstabber. We know about the most recent little charade she tried to pull on Alex Jones. Unfortunately, she picked on the wrong guy. Alex Jones knows how the deep state works better than anybody. He knows how the backstabbing media people are, and especially Megyn Kelly. So he set her up, made her look like a fool. I'm sure some of you heard about that. And so Alex Jones did Megyn Kelly, and he did her good. And good old Megan Smelly. You know, her career, as far as I was concerned, was over a long time ago. It's you know, I don't know how she managed to even stay on the air. She's not a journalist. She's not a serious person. She's really just a hack job, man. I mean, I never ever liked the woman, never. And so anyway, Megyn Kelly, right along with Hillary Clinton, not going very well for them. Hey, and it might be like the Three Stooges. You have another very unpopular person these days, and her name is Nancy Pelosi. That's right. A recent poll of Democrats was taken, and 58% of Democrats say Pelosi has got to go. That's right, 58%. But the establishment, the deep state, they love Nancy Pelosi. She is a puppet on the strings. She'll do whatever she's told, whenever she's told, however she's told to do it. She'll continue working for the deep state. She serves them very well. And there's a lot of powerful people around her who are under immense pressure to let Nancy stay the course, which is good for all of us. I fully support Nancy Pelosi remaining the minority leader. And I fully support Tom Perez as the DNC chair and Chucky Schumer. I fully support every one of those people. They are doing a fantastic job. We should be almost financing their campaign. Don't forget Paul Ryan. As I mentioned in the previous video, Paul Ryan is being challenged by a very good man. If you live in Wisconsin, be sure and check out Nayland. And hopefully you will find within your resources to be able to help him a little bit financially when it comes time to start raising some money for that campaign. It would be great to get rid of Paul Ryan. He is probably one of the worst enemies that we have right now. Literally, he is as bad, if not worse, than the Democrats, because he actually has some power. He is the Speaker of the House, and he's a backstabber too. So we would really like to get rid of Paul Ryan. He is a rat, and so Paul Nayland is definitely a man to look at. And hopefully, maybe when the campaign starts, we can maybe try to put together, I'm sure someone will work on it. I would love to participate in it, putting together a national fundraising campaign. Because if we only win, if we only throw out one swamp monster in this 2018 election on the Republican side, if we only get rid of one, if we had to all team up just to get rid of one guy, Paul Ryan would be the guy that we would need to take down. That would be fantastic. And Paul Nehlen's a fantastic guy. So now he would not become speaker. He would take that seat in Wisconsin, but Paul Ryan would no longer be speaker, and we might actually get a speaker who actually is on the right team, if you know what I mean. Because Paul Ryan's not playing on our team, I can assure you that. By the way, Maura put together a wonderful list of reptiles that exist deep in the swamp in D.C. Love your list, Maura, and thank you to everyone who contributed and helped put that list together. Keep that list going. You know, I didn't realize until I read down through all the names, and you don't realize how many of these swamp monsters they are. And just about every one of those, almost every one of those people on the list are people who are right now under investigation or going to be called to testify about things regarding the obstruction issue, about the surveillance issue. A lot of those people are going to be called in to testify and are going to receive letters and have various other problems. So it's good that we see the tables are turning, the narrative is changing, Russia-Trump collusion is dying, if not altogether dead. Still some people trying to prop it up, but essentially it's dead. And so things are definitely going the right direction. Now you've got the narrative turned on Obama instead of it being Trump Russia. It's amazing to watch the media, the way they can spin on a dime. I mean, literally within one day, the Washington Post story comes out, and the very next day, less than 24 hours later, now you've got almost every liberal media outlet out there saying, yeah, why didn't Obama get tougher on the Russians? It's his fault. And so Trump tweets out, yeah, you know, I just found out that Obama knew that the Russians were involved in trying to hack the election, and he didn't do anything about it. He owes me an apology. So it's just extraordinary. I mean, it's just, you know, unhinged. Unhinged is the only word I can think of, because normally when a political party is going through a tough time, or a family, or a baseball team, or a group of friends, you have a tendency to circle the wagons, you stick together, you talk things through, you try to come up with something that you can all agree with, something that you can all move forward with together, and you try to come up with a common, you know, way of dealing with something, or at least if nothing else, a common message, you know, a common direction that you can move in. But as you can see, really since the loss of the Georgia primary, the special election, and then the testimony by Department of Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, the final nail in the coffin of the Trump-Russia collusion, is just, I mean, the Democrats are going in every which direction. I mean, there's nobody at the head of the ship. You know, you think, well, the Clintons kind of run the party, Obama runs the party. You know, you got these other people, heavy players, Wasserman Schultz and Donna Brazile and Tom Perez. You've got all these people, you know, that are supposed to be the leadership, that are supposed to keep everything intact and keep everybody moving in the same direction. But you can see that they've completely lost control, because they have Democrats going this way. They're attacking each other. Now they got the Washington Post and other media outlets going after Obama, blaming him for not being tougher on the Russians. And CNN now saying no more Trump-Russia collusion stories without the approval of Zucker. So he must be feeling the pressure. And of course, obviously, they realized that they didn't get the results they were hoping for. In fact, the tables have now been turned on them. The most revealing thing that came out of Comey's testimony was, you know, Loretta Lynch's attempt to obstruct justice with him over the Clinton emails. And isn't it funny how when you look at almost all of this stuff that's happening that's so bad for Democrats right now, if you follow the trail, it all leads back to Hillary Clinton. It was her emails that were the reason for all of this. It was her emails. And the things that we learned from them emails, from the Podesta emails, from the Neera Tanden conversations with Podesta, from the talk about Hillary Clinton and the fact that Hillary's had this unsecure server. And so all these problems, in a sense, do come back to the Clintons. I mean, they're like the schlep rocks of politics. It's like I said before, you look at the list of people who've been associated with the Clintons over the years, most of them are either dead, in jail, or their careers and their lives are ruined. Associating with if you see the Clintons coming, you should turn around and run 180 degrees the opposite direction as fast as you can go. Because anyone who gets involved with those people ends up having very bad things happen to them. They've destroyed the party. They've now got all these high-level Democrats turning on each other, fighting amongst one another. Now they've even got the Washington Post and the liberal media turning on Obama, who was their savior, their God, and they've now turned on him as well. There's at some point they're going to run out of people to point fingers at, but it's extraordinary to watch them melting down and taking each other out. But this is exactly what happens. I mean, this is exactly how the FBI was able to take down a lot of the organized crime networks in the last 20, 25 years. Is that they would infiltrate these groups, and once you get one guy to turn on the rest of them, pretty soon they all get paranoid, and it's every man for himself. We saw the same thing in Watergate. John Dean is the one who got weak in the knees and decided he didn't want to be the scapegoat. And we heard Debbie Wasserman Schultz and her comments about Hillary Clinton criticizing the DNC. We saw that Debbie Wasserman Schultz even used the word scapegoat. She said Hillary is trying to make me and the Russian hacking the scapegoat when it's her fault, you see. So you have Wasserman Schultz turning on Clinton, turning on the DNC, Brazil and her at odds. She's accusing Jay Johnson and Comey of perjury. She's got some other legal issues she's dealing with right now. And one last thing I want to mention that probably should have covered about a week ago during the hearings with Jay Johnson, the questioning by Trey Gowdy. There was a couple questions he asked there when he said to Jay Johnson, he said, don't you find it kind of extraordinary or strange that here you are, law enforcement, you're trying to help the DNC keep from getting their computers hacked, you're trying to help him out with a problem, and they don't seem to want your help at all. And then he went on to talk about how everything is based on this information that supposedly is about what happened to those servers and all that. The only question that Trey Gowdy didn't ask, or the only assertion he didn't make, is that we should go back and have a look at those servers. That's the only, he stopped short of that. But as I'm watching it, I thought, I was waiting for him to go there, but he didn't. Not in the hearings. But I have to think that the wheels are definitely turning in Trey Gowdy's mind, and he has to be thinking, all this stuff is all based on, the hacking and all this sort of stuff. The CrowdStrike thing, they're trying to get CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike will not come and testify. They will not come and testify in front of the House or the Senate. They won't answer any letters. They won't even comment. They won't even return a comment or anything else. They've got lawyers. They don't want to be involved. But they are holding the servers. So I'm just thinking that I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if in the next couple of days, if not the next couple of days up to the next couple of weeks as we're on this topic, I wouldn't be surprised to start hearing some voices within some of those committees saying, hey, you know what? We just need to go ahead and look at those servers. They're in possession of the of CrowdStrike right now. But of course, since Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the Democrats have told us now in the last couple of weeks that they're fully willing to cooperate totally with the FBI and with anyone else that wants to, in law enforcement, that wants to take a look at those servers and wants to try to solve this problem and get to the bottom of it. Since the Democrats are now okay with all of that, we should just go ahead and have a look at those servers, shouldn't we? So I am waiting for in the next couple of weeks or so. And again, as I've stated before, if Robert Mueller wants to use this as evidence in any type of a criminal hearing, which I don't think it'll make it that far, But should it go to that point, he actually would have to get into those servers and actually have the FBI or some law enforcement agency actually go through those servers. Because what CrowdStrike, their findings would not be admissible in court. That would be hearsay evidence, and it would be easily disputed. And if I'm the attorney for anyone who might be charged in that particular crime, the very first thing I would say is, well, prove that the Russians did it. Prove this or prove that or whatever. And you could go back and argue that point. So it appears to me that it's something that Mueller would have to do if he wanted to pursue this investigation where he's going. But it also seems to me that Trey Gowdy and probably some other people on that committee the wheels are turning, and they're saying to themselves, you know, we need to go ahead and take a look at those servers. So I would not be surprised in the next days, maybe a couple weeks, if we don't see a call by members on that committee to go get those servers and have a look at them. So anyway, that's what's going on today for TowerGate. June the 27th, 2017, Monday, day 115. The travel ban has been reinstated. CNN has put a muzzle on any more Trump collusion stories unless approved by the CEO of CNN, the president of CNN, I should say. Hillary Clinton's more unpopular than ever. Bernie Sanders, of course, still wants $15 an hour. But it doesn't appear that Bernie Sanders felt the need to speak to his supporters and let them know that shooting Republicans is not a good idea. He wasn't called out on the comment that thousands, millions of people will die from Trump care. Wasn't called out on that at all. He didn't comment on the fact that Obamacare is failing. Of course, he wants single payer, which the Democrats won't do. But Bernie Sanders got a complete free pass. Unbelievable. Megyn Kelly's ratings are tanking, and nobody likes Pelosi or Hillary Clinton or any Democrats for that matter. So that is Monday, TowerGate. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you for spreading my videos, for the thumbs up, and I always love reading the comments. You have so many smart people and good folks that watch my videos and comment. I really do appreciate all of you, and I hope you all have a good night, and we'll be back tomorrow to see what happens next in TowerGate. Good night.